What is a seemingly mundane question you can ask somebody that will tell you a lot about their personality? What was the last thing you did that gave you childlike joy? My 14-year-old asked for a longboard last spring. Ed said no before, because I figured it'd be something I spend a few $100 on that shed try once, not be good at right away, and never touch it again. It won't be the first time. After being locked up for 2 months with quarantine, I figured why not? It gets her outside and maybe something she'll enjoy. At that point I just wanted to get her out of her room and off her phone. I'd never seen her work so hard at something she wasn't good at right away. After two back-to-back 6-hour days of practice she started to get the hang of it and asked me if I wanted try. I couldn't even stand on a board when I was a kid, but as an adult I just got it. I wasn't on it 5 minutes and I said, I need one. We left right then and picked one up for myself. We cruised all spring, summer, and fall. Not only was it great for bonding, I hadn't felt that kind of joy since I was little. A moment I'll never forget. Can't wait for the snow to melt. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. First, I'm impressed she practiced for so many hours. Second, I love that you got it and wanted to go get one so you could do it together. Where were you the night of the murder? Which one? I'm going to need you to be more specific. This was a good answer. That's how I'm responding every time now. Except when I'm talking to the police, of course. I had a tar ask me in a get to know you activity what my vision was for a perfect world, and I said round lol. That would have been awkward if your tar was a flat earther. Did I just see you digging through the trash? I didn't know we were playing Stardew Valley. Fuck you, Alex. I hate you anyways. Got this one in an interview once. How do you go about eating a muffin? Learned a lot about muffin anatomy that day. It was a bakery after all. Edit. The bottom is also called a stem BTW. Just in case anyone needs some muffin trivia in their back pocket. Edit 2. Also known as stumps. Yes. This was a highfalutin place, so they preferred to refer to them as stems. What are you having for dinner tonight? It's really cool to hear about what people like, what their culture is like, because food is a huge part of that. And generally just how they live. Expensive or cheap, quick or elaborate, adventurous or safe, ham, mustard, maybe some baby carrots. If they aren't bad yet, I might try to make that garlic bread, but it's been in the freezer for like 3 years now. What superpower they want? I know there are more powerful powers that could get me wealth or whatever, but man, teleportation would be dope. Can travel the world, but always sleep in your own bed and never need to book a flight. Never need to use a public restroom. Easily visit family. Only take road trips if I want. Can live and work anywhere. The rest of life could be normal, but it'd be great. Work. Bro, teleport in and out of bank vault. What book would you like to live in? A really big one. Practical. I see. My father-in-law went on a job interview about 10 years ago and absolutely nailed the interview. As he was being shown around the office, a high-level person in that company, who normally wasn't there, just happened to be there that day. After they were introduced, he asked my Phil what kind of animal he would be. My Phil said he panicked and picked bear. He's a bigger guy. And the other guy said something along the lines of that's a little too aggressive, maybe this isn't the job for you. So he didn't get the job, but I guess it worked out because he's got a pretty good job now. And if I was him, I wouldn't want to work for someone who hires people based on what animal they think they would be. Bullet dodged. That sounds like an awful place to work. Same thought. If a company would kick you out for everything good, but one minor choice, I don't think working there will be happy. Good boss know the strength and weakness of the colleagues. One failure do not necessarily mean bad. Edit. Sorry, I didn't mean fail. English is not my native tongue. I meant unlike an answer. That is not what the boss wants. What would you do if you won the lottery? For me, it's a non-invasive way of listening to people's attitudes on finance in general, and also how they feel about the rich. Yes, this is a brilliant question. When I was newly dating my ex-boyfriend, it was around the time Super Lotto hit $1 billion a couple years ago. We were both in lottery ticket pools and discussed what we'd do if we won. His answer mortified me. It included how, if he were married, He'd divorce his wife and travel the world on a yacht doing drugs surrounded by hot women. Big red flag for me. Wow. Of all the things, that is definitely something you don't say to your girlfriend. As a kid, what was your go-to selection from the ice cream truck? Disappointment because we were too poor to get ice cream from the truck. The cheapest thing they offered, because my dad insisted on getting me something, even though I knew we couldn't really afford it. But it made him happy to get me a treat. Eater, thanks for all the awards. Folks, I feel like I should celebrate with an off-brand Otter Pop. Does Mike Wazowski blink or wink? Depends on how he's holding his mouth. You are truly one of the great thinkers of our time. Fav question I heard in an interview. What would you do if you came home and found a penguin in your freezer? It ends up not only being an icebreaker, but a good personality tell. Is the penguin dead or alive? African penguin or European penguin? Are you in favor of homeowner associations? This is a good one because everyone who is familiar with them has such strong reactions. Yeah, I knew a guy that was a coworker in a different department. Apparently he was on the hoa board in his neighborhood and loved it. He was a total ahali at work, so I knew that he terrorized his neighbors. Ask them what they like to cook for breakfast. Does coffee count as cooking breakfast? Asking for a friend. A vanilla soy latte is technically a 3-bean soup. What soup they like? Vanilla soy latte. I see you made it this far down. Love the reference from the same thread. Do you prefer night or day? Night. It's calm and peaceful. I very much enjoy my alone time. And night when everyone's asleep is the best. To squirrel. Then check to see if they get excited at the prospect of a squirrel. The effectiveness of this changes drastically depending on where you are. I'm Australian and if someone told me there was a squirrel I would probably cry from excitement. OMG. My ex and I were visiting the USA and took photos of squirrels in a suburban street of Portland. Some woman asked us why we were taking photos of her house. We explained that we were dorky Australians photographing squirrels because they don't exist in the land down under. I wish I remember what her response was. It's not a single question, but by the second or third date with a guy I would ask him to go bowling. As it turns out there's many ways to play the game. Do they take it too seriously and get competitive or angry if they don't do well? Does he act disinterested or bored of the game? Do they try to teach me how to play or do they just try to be goofy, have fun with it? Do they order 2 pitchers of beer and get totally smashed? In my opinion you can learn a lot about a person by the way they approach bowling. This isn't NAM. This is bowling. There are rules. Apostrophe. Donnie, you're out of your element. What do you know Tim Curry from? Apostrophe. I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Apostrophe. Breathes heavily. Space. Apostrophe. My husband used to work for Bed Bath and blah blah. He told me part of his job was to put carts away. He said that was his favorite part about the job. Wasting time walking around the parking lot finding carts and putting them away. He got to be outside, chill by himself, not have to deal with other worse tasks, etc. Of course this story only came up after I gave him some shit for not putting the cart back one time. This story was his elaborate rationale for not putting a cart back, and to prove he was in fact a nice, normal, compassionate human. Normally, a fastidious cart returner, I started to leave my cart, thinking I was actually being nice and even more compassionate than ever before. I probably only did it to 5x until I realized he's just an asshole who has now made me into an even bigger asshole. I now get to think about how much we are both assholes in our own ways every time I return a cart. So I do a lot of the shitty work at my job by choice because it's preferable to my actual job. Damn, what do you do? How would you describe the internet to a caveman? It will show you how they look at what the internet is used for. For example, some might say it's a source of information, or it's a way to connect people who are far away. I know one person who said they wouldn't explain it to a caveman because they wouldn't go back in time without hot caveman in area looking to thump. In a job interview, ask your prospective supervisor how much vacation time and sick days they took last year. This is great, because both extremes take pride in their answer, and so will answer honestly. The no/low vacation boss is proud of how hard she or he works. But really it's bad if they don't take time off. They're coming and when they're sick, they're not recharging by taking vacation. And the expectation, even if unstated, is that their staff should follow that example. You'll feel guilty every time you call in sick or take vacation time. You want the boss who says I always take my vacation time and encourage my staff to as well. I called in a couple times last year when I came down with a cold. Good boss. Have you ever had a negative reaction when you ask this? I can see a scenario where the prospective supervisor is a little private about this. Could it be seen as too personal of a question to ask? I'm not playing devil's advocate or advocating to not ask. I'm actually curious as someone who's hoping to be interviewing for positions in the near future. If you want to play it safe, you can ask how many days a year on average the employees here take off. Alternative phrasing. How do you judge people as fast as possible? In a group setting we had a facilitator ask, do you judge people based on what they're wearing? My friend answered, it depends on what they're wearing. It brought me joy. One of my standard job interview questions is tell me about something you like doing that you're good at. I don't really care what the answer is. I just want to see passion, effort, and creativity. Do you put the cart back when you're done shopping? I put my cart away. But seriously, whether someone puts their carts back really shows you what they think about rules, social norms, and whether they will follow them when someone isn't looking or judging them. It's really interesting, and it's called the shopping carts theory. Is this a real theory? Do you sleep with your socks on? Yes or no? Sometimes I sleep with them on and sometimes I don't. It just depends on my mood. Like tonight I'm sleeping with socks, but the past 2 days I slept without socks. My girlfriend's dad always uses one interview question that makes or breaks a possible hire. Why are manhole covers round? The goal isn't to know the answer, it's to show that you are willing to critically think about a problem before you say you need help. Edit, spelling, and thank you for the silver kind stranger. Because pipes are round. Because people are roundish. Because circles possibly use less material than squares. Because they are super heavy, and if they are round then they can be rolled on their edge. What does HP stand for? Hewlett Packard? What order do you take eggs out of the carton? Do you have Reddit? WTF, who told you that? No, I don't have Reddit. Don't really know what that is. What is that, some sort of chat room? Who told you that? Let's talk about something else. The only right answer. What's the last thing you did for the first time? Well, now I'm having an existential crisis because I can't think of anything. Don't feel bad. It's really not the right year for that question. If dogs wore pants, would they wear them on all 4 legs? Or just the back legs? My sons and I had an ongoing debate over this 5 years ago. Then we moved on to if a shark smoked, would it smoke in its gills or its mouth? Lol. Depends on whether it's addicted or just trying to look cool. Grilled cheese sandwich or a taco? Who wins in a fight? Grilled cheese. But only if it's a fair fight. If it's prison rules, I'd take the taco. That's pretty racist, but correct. Yeah, like jazz. As a jazz musician, this would be a genuinely important question for me to ask. Favorite compliment they've ever received. It tells you a lot about what people think of themselves and what they tend to value. My coworker asked me how I was doing, and I randomly blurted out I want to die. We've been dating for nearly 2 years now. To be fair, that would qualify someone as dating material for me too, depending on the delivery and context. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? If they know, that will tell me a lot. Edit, apparently, I didn't put the word velocity in there at first. Haha. African or European? I don't know that. Saving this thread for my next human interaction. I foresee much less awkward silence. Wish me luck. Their favorite color. In so many ways, if they tell you without hesitating, it means they must have probably thought about it before. And it must be a color they really like. That makes them feel at home, or makes them happy. Whenever I meet someone, and they tell me their favorite color, it becomes a part of them to me. I'm color blind. I hate this question. My favorite color is blue. Which one? When I was a manager in retail, I used to ask the question, what was the last thing you've ever stolen? During interviews. I was asked it during a previous interview for a job, and I asked my manager why she asked it. It's a good way to tell if someone is capable of being honest and accountable in a situation that may not have favorable results, i.e., screwing up the interview. I noticed that most of my associates that answered the question honestly would usually own up to mistakes made on the job and won't try to lie their way out of problems or throw others under the bus. Edit. To add a few clarifications for some of the comments I saw, it was never poised to be a gotcha question. Ed only ever used someone's response against them a couple times. One in particular admitted to stealing clothes from the previous store they worked at and would forget to pay for them. It was a question that was derived from our manager interview questions sheet we filled out when interviewing candidates. The original question was, have you ever stolen anything? And we were allowed to modify wording of the questions as long as they were in reason. It's not a question that was only asked of certain candidates. If you interviewed at our store, you were asked that question. Doesn't matter who you are or what position it was for. Being asked if you've ever stolen is a very common question asked during interviews where you are dealing with money or in retail of some sort. A lot of companies have to deal with internal theft as well as external. INTERNAL equals EMPLOYE theft. EXTERNAL equals CUSTOMER theft. And it's generally asked to make sure someone won't be a risk for internal theft. I would use the question as a way to gauge if I could believe someone to be honest if a mistake occurred, and having a sense of accountability. If someone replied they never stolen or couldn't remember, I would use how confident they were in their response. It was very easy to tell if someone was sincere or not. It's not meant to be an offensive question. When interviewing a candidate, I need to get to know you. No one looks like they steal, much like no one looks like they commit any crime. I literally have no idea if you steal or not. It was a question asked if every single person interviewing for our company among a million other questions. I would usually follow up with my personal answer that stole a CD from Walmart when I was 16. I wanted to make sure the candidate knew it was okay to answer that question. Background checks usually weren't run until the very end of the hiring process. We would conduct 2 separate manager interviews, and if we agreed we wanted to hire a candidate, we would reach out 2 hours to run all of that stuff before making the offer. We would generally never see the results of a background check as that was an hour thing. So we would have no idea if you were arrested for theft or anything like that when we conducted our manager interviews. And yes, I'm aware that some companies do use this as something against you, which I personally think is dumb. But with a few retail companies I worked for, it never was, unless you gave a really incriminating answer. My experience is completely anecdotal to others. I don't steal. Not because I'm an upstanding, moral person, but because of my anxiety won't allow it. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.